Well, as fate would have it, the Utah Jazz dropped another one, boys. This one was in competitive fashion in the first half. The second half got a little bit ugly, but they ended up losing by 12, even despite putting the reserves in those last 4 minutes and 7 seconds. The reserves being Jason Preston, Kyrie Lewis Jr., Lucas Somanich, and Omer Yurt-7. You saw Johnny play a significant portion of minutes today. He played 20 and a half, was 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, had 1 rebound and only 1 turnover for a box score plus minus of a +3. Micah Potter was 1 of 2 from the field, both of those being 3-pointers, and in 15 minutes he had 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and 2 turnovers for a box score plus minus of a -1. Walker Kessler was not particularly much better in his minutes. Playing in 23 and a half minutes, going 2 of 2 from the field, having 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and 2 turnovers for a box score plus minus of a -5. You saw THT play 15, almost 16 minutes off the bench, and he had another poor shooting performance, going 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. He also made the 1 free throw attempt that he did take, and he also had 2 rebounds and 2 assists to go along with 1 turnover for a total score of 8 points and a box score plus minus of +4, surprisingly enough. We saw Collin Sexton be the mainstay offensive output for the Utah Jazz once again, with nobody else coming close to his number of made field goal attempts. The closest behind him was actually John Collins with 5. For reference, Collin Sexton was 12 of 19, shooting 63.2% from the field. He was 0 of 2 from the three-point line. He was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. He had 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers for a total that led the team with 25 points. Nobody else eclipsed beyond 16, which was, again, John Collins. And his box score plus minus was a -6. You saw Chris Dunn start at point guard for them today in 23 and a half minutes. He was 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from the three-point line, had 1 rebound, 3 assists, 1 steal, and no turnovers. However, he did have a major box score plus minus of a -15. Keontae George was tied for the worst box score plus minus, having played 27, almost 28 minutes, going 3 of 14 from the field and 0 of 7 from 3. Which definitely was not a winning recipe for them. Now, he ended up going 3 of 3 from the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 turnovers for a total of 9 points and a box score plus minus of a -23. John Collins matched his box score plus minus of a -23 while playing 23 and a half minutes, going 5 of 12 from the field for 41.7%, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He had 6 rebounds, 1 steal, and only 1 turnover for a total of 16 points. Then you saw Taylor Hendricks at the power forward spot starting again, playing 24 minutes, going 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, finally starting to find a little bit of offensive rhythm for himself. And he also had 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and a team-leading 3 blocks to go on with no turnovers. A total of 12 points in a box score plus minus of a -22, surprisingly enough. Bryce Sensabaugh in 20 minutes actually had a rough shooting night himself, going 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. He didn't really attempt any free throws. He did have 6 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal. He did have a team-leading 4 turnovers, though. And with his 4 points, he had a box score plus minus that was dead even at 0. All in all, not a great numerical number day for the Utah Jazz. Was good, Jackson. He said, okay, game 3 more threes could have been better. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. For the Thunder, things got very good very quickly, which was very much not good for the Utah Jazz because we needed those. We definitely needed those. It was good logic. Lou Dort in 25 and a half minutes was 2 of 5 from the field, He had 9 points, box score plus minus plus 18. Jalen Williams, 8 of 14, 18 points, box score plus minus plus 28. Tied for the best on his team. Chet Holmgren, 12 of 18 from the field. He was 10 of 12 from the free throw line, by the way, as well. And only 1 of 5 from 3. He had 14 boards, 35 points. A nasty double-double to put up against us. Box score plus minus of a plus 27. Josh Giddey was 2 of 9 from the field. And he did, though, have 11 rebounds and 8 assists to go along with his 5 points, giving him the, almost borderline Draymond Green triple single. He had a box score plus minus of a plus 28. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 33 minutes, 12 of 22, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 of 6 on the free throw line. He had 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and a team-leading 4 steals. 31 points in the box score plus minus of a plus 5. Jalen Williams was 1 of 4 from the field. Isaiah Joe was 0 of 4 from the field. Cason Wallace was 2 of 4. Gordon Hayward was 2 of 3. Aaron Wiggins was 2 of 3. Ousmane Dieng was 0 of 1. And Lindy Waters III was 0 of 1. The bench provided them with almost nothing, effectively. So their starters really spearheaded by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren, ended up, dismantling the Utah Jazz very handedly, very much so. Waiting for Hardy to be called out. I wish THT was still okay. Yeah, playing THT as much as we do while they simultaneously can't really do anything with him is honestly really, really unfortunate at this point. I'm not going to lie. You know what's funny? The rebounding battle looked very bad, but you'd be surprised to realize that we actually won it by 2 boards. We had 1 more offensive rebound and 1 more defensive rebound for a total of 52 on the game to their 50. But it didn't feel like that when we watched the game. Well, myself personally. I don't know about you guys. Assist-wise, they had 29 to our 20. Steal-wise, they had 10 to our 6. They had 7 blocks to our 5. They had 10 turnovers to our 15. Combine that with the fact that they were 48.9% from the field to our 44%. And they were also 10 of 34 from the three-point line, while we were 10 of 36. So we just got beat. They hit more shots than us. They hit more three-pointers. They attempted 2 more. But that combined with the fact that their free throws, they were offered 29 to our 18. But even still, we just didn't get the job done the way that we needed to. I didn't want to make today's live too long considering the way the game went. Obviously, we didn't have Lauri back. We didn't get great tape from Bryce. We didn't get great tape from Keontae. The only good tape we got was obviously from Collin Sexton, which we kind of expected, and then from Taylor Hendricks, which was actually kind of refreshing. I'm not going to lie. I'm just hoping that, Keontae will bounce back next game because he finally got out of that patch where, the entirety of the season he would have 1 good game, have 2 bad games, have 1 good game, have 2 bad games, have 1 good game, have 2 bad games. He finally found like a pretty competitive niche where even when he would go 1 of 5 from 3, he would still end up going like 5 of 7 from inside the arc. So it would balance things out and he had a little bit of variety in his shot selection. But considering the fact that he was 0 of 7 from 3 and 3 of 7 from inside the arc, things won't much better any way you slice it. He did end up hitting all 3 of his free throws, though. He had 7 boards. He had 2 assists, only 2 turnovers. This was in 28 minutes, so there are things to be seen. But yeah, today the only bright spot we really have to look at for the Utah Jazz is going to be Taylor Hendricks because, in 24 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. We brought him up because we think he can shoot threes, and recently he's been delivering on it. He's been the most consistent threat from 3 outside of, obviously, Lauri Markkanen. And then Collin Sexton at length. If I'm to look right now, his percentage isn't particularly high at the moment. He's shooting 42.6% from the field and 32.9% from 3. But that's across all 26 games he's played this year for the Utah Jazz. So I don't give it too much thought. Hot take I have on the Jazz. Um, they're only one piece away from the title run. I think that would be my hot take because I'm very fond of Collin Sexton. I'm very fond of Lauri Markkanen, but I think that they're just one B, 2A type player to be a win by committee squad. Um, to me, Keontae George just doesn't seem to be ready just yet. I think in 2 years he could be that guy, perhaps. But I think that his role will end up being redundant with Collin Sexton. So maybe it's somebody else. Maybe you want a more, you know, how do you say? You want a more lanky wing offensive and defensive piece that you want to add to your roster. As much as I'm sure like they would love Cooper Flag, if you want to pick up Cooper Flag, that means you're partially not going to be able to play Walker Kessler, which means Walker Kessler is going to forever be underused. And then for two, that means Larry Markkinen has to develop his offensive game dribbling because you can't feed both of those guys. And that's under the impression that you actually can maintain Walker Kessler. And I don't think that's very likely to occur. You said Taylor's look good. We just need one more piece that look promising. Yeah, I can see that. Tell me Jazz didn't lose that game on purpose. I hope not. I hope not. I think it's just like they threw a lineup out there and then they realized it was over with and put in the bench. My issue with this whole young guy development is that it's at the expense of Sexton. Yeah. As soon as George came in, they put him on ball in the office running through Sexton. Yeah. He proceeded to shoot every shot. Sexton got one look in the fourth quarter. This has been happening on every game since All-Star break. He's trying to develop him as a point guard. I'm a big Collin Sexton guy, obviously, so I don't particularly love this for him because ultimately what it looks like to me is they hope that Keontae George is going to be that guy, but by default that means that Collin Sexton will not be allowed to be that guy, which means they will ultimately end up trading Collin Sexton. And I liked Collin Sexton being on this team. I think that he allows, John Collins to be playable at times. I think that his intensity is very infectious. I think that he really pushes those guys to be their best version of themselves. Even on their off nights, they still don't, give up in games because of Collin Sexton. So when you lose that dog kind of character, when you already don't have a super ego-filled team, your question then becomes, okay, so who is going to be the beating heart and soul of this squad? I don't think they have another dog type mentality player out there on the roster, personally. You think Taylor or Keontae could be that next piece? I think Taylor has the ability to. Whether he will or not is up to Taylor and up to the scheme of what our front office tells Will Hardy he's allowed to do with him. Yes, I know he plays a power forward spot, and Lowry's going to end up running the small forward spot, but I trust more exponential development from Taylor Hendricks than I do from Lauri. Like Lauri, by and large, is mostly the player that he's going to be for the remainder of his career. I would like to see an offensive game kind of come out of his bag, get a little bit more of dribble pull-ups and things of that nature. We've seen him put the ball on the deck a little bit more, but it's been kind of inefficient. I do hope that it continues to get better and like in this offseason he really works on it. But I think it'll be easier for Taylor Hendricks to grow because he doesn't have a very cemented play style in his head. He's a very young, a rookie, if nothing else. So I think he still has a little bit more ways to go before he figures out who he wants to be as a player and pushes for that. They can want it, but he's showing a huge impact on the team. Why not work around that? Why limit a good player in hopes of being a 16th pick? Pairing on, he doesn't need to limit Sexton to do this. I think that's the problem. Well, what ultimately ended up happening most likely is they said, we trust Sexton to get buckets. We know exactly what Collin Sexton is, right? For this team, you know exactly what Collin Sexton is. He's going to come in with energy. He's going to make proper decisions. He's going to share the rock. And he's going to score at a very high level, the highest level on the team, bar none, right? But because they came out and decided, after the trade deadline, since we couldn't get a star player that we wanted to, we're just going to go ahead and roll up these rookies and, let them get some burns, see who they are, and go from there. So that puts Collin Sexton in the bind of being the mentor person, but it's easier for them to use Chris Dunn as that mentor piece because he's the guard that's the same height as Keontae George. He has a table setting that they want Keontae George to have. He just doesn't shoot as many shots as they eventually hope that Keontae George potentially will. You also find yourself in a situation where Taylor Hendricks and Bryson Sensabaugh are finally getting actual minutes at the NBA level. And either way, Collin Sexton's going to be burning out a lot of his energy, just looking good on paper and really just dogging it out, fighting it out, getting his numbers up. But nobody's really going to care because the Jazz are always going to struggle regardless, at the very least for this season. Going into next season, I would like to assume that everybody being healthy and then a lot of other guys having the opportunities that they need to have will end up getting the job done in their in their purest form, I'll say. He said, let George first have a season of consistency before you just cut off his water during a close game. Naturally, I don't want to see his career die here. I don't think it'll necessarily die, but I think that ultimately at this rate, they will force themselves into trading him. Because to me, Collin Sexton is your one. If you want to make Keontae George your two, I can definitely see that, right? He's 6'4". You'll just have to make him more defensively proficient, which I can understand playing him alongside Chris Dunn. And I'll take the remainder of this season, too pressing. But I don't like how before the trade deadline, all these guys thought that they were going to make a run at the play-in and try and sneak into the playoffs, and then their dreams just got stomped on, and they said, "Okay, guys, now play ball." I don't like that. You want a transparent ownership team, because here you are talking, with Will Hardy and the rest of your coaches during film sessions, during practice, all this stuff. And then Danny Ainge comes out and says, you know what, guys, this is what we're doing. This is what it's going to be for the rest of the season. Let's roll. And Justin Danny says, yup, what he said. And then it makes Will Hardy look like, oh, he just did all that coaching and pushed these guys so hard for nothing because they were going to end up, getting rid of people anyways. But they got some draft picks back. They have way more than enough draft picks than they know what to do with. I'd prefer not to draft a million people, so I'd rather couple up a couple of those draft picks, either try and get a star player that's already in the league, particularly a wing, or go ahead and try and get a higher draft pick to get a more surefire player in a future draft that we feel more comfortable with, which is completely understandable. Team Race moves Sexton at the one. Yeah. Kelly could have held this one. Oh, most definitely. Why can't that be accepted and just based off that? Why force George at the one? Team to operate better with Sexton at the one. We saw it tonight. At the rookie wall, and he's burnt out. Seriously. I think he'll be able to bounce back just a little bit. I need his shooting to come back a little bit, though, from three specifically, because he's had a couple bad three-point shooting games recently. And they can't be allowed to keep going on. Incognito, I completely understand your frustration. Coming from a guy who, has two different Collin Sexton jerseys and loves his mentality, his energy, the drive that he has, and the fact that he's a sore loser. I love a sore loser. If you enjoy losing, I probably wouldn't like you as a player. Or if you're a teammate, I wouldn't like you as a teammate. We're not going to get along because I hate losing, right? I hate losing more than I love winning. And to me, Collin Sexton is the embodiment of that. And I think that the front office, when they first picked up Keontae George, they had a specific goal and expectation for where they wanted him to be and who they thought he could be. So it's right now trying to force feed him minutes, trying to force feed him opportunities, trying to force him into positions to where he has to make certain plays. And ultimately, they're going to either force him to be who they want him to be, or they're going to call him a deceased project, which is, in my eyes, what happened with Ochai Agbaji. Ochai Agbaji should never have been a 3-and-D wing. He wasn't a 3-and-D guy, right? He was defensively very well placed, but offensively he was a fast break, lob threat. He was a back cutter. He was a screen and roller. He was never really a great 3-point shooter at any point this season, and that's ultimately what led to him getting traded. Understandably so. but I don't want to see that same type of fate be followed by Keontae George. Oh, he shoots very poorly. He's very turnover prone at the point guard position, but we really want him to be a point guard like so bad. And so we're going to keep running him into the ground until there's nothing left. And then it's like, oh, he's not panning out, guys. Let's go ahead and trade him for a second round draft pick. I don't want to see that happen. Yeah, it's not natural. Yeah. Who do you think is the most promising Jazz rookie? To me, it was Taylor Hendricks from the beginning. I know that he had to spend his time in the G League, but from his physical profile to his emphasis on defense, to me, it's a thing of I can always play you on the court if you could play defense. If your shot's gonna come and go, but defensive instincts and understanding doesn't really disappear. By and large, everybody has a very similar game. Now, you're going to have a bad matchup every now and then. You're going to get cooked every now and then. It does happen. If I'm sure he got dunked on this game. But, like, it happens, right? But if you are a willing defender, you take defense personally, and you're very locked in on that side of the ball, then I'm more liable to believe that you're going to be able to do things more consistently in the future. And I'm more willing to put you on the court as opposed to somebody who's going to have a shooting night like Keontae George had tonight, or like Bryce Sensabaugh, or Taylor Hort, or THT has been having over the past several nights, right? But of course, that's just me. I'm just a guy. I'm not in that front office. I didn't spend money on these draft picks. My job, my career is not on the line if these guys pan out or don't. I understand the front office has certain agendas and things of that nature that they have to stick to, though. Organic, it feels forced. Oh, it's definitely forced. Yeah. George, couple of bad games versus teams with best perimeter defenders in the league. It's like they're saying this already. Yeah. It's like they're saying, be this, but they already have Sexton, James, saying this for a while, to be fair. Yeah, Incognito has been on that train for a while. I don't push the panic button on Keontae too hard right now, but I was a big person who, when what's his name? When Will Hardy said George is ready, I did not think George was ready. Now, George is a little bit more ready than I originally thought he was. I will say that. He's had a lot more consistent games over the past 20 games as far as efficiency goes. My biggest thing with Keontae has always been efficiency. His assist numbers come and go, right? His understanding of the offense kind of comes and goes at times, and sometimes he can get tunnel vision on his own shots. But no, that can't be right. It's saying he's shooting 39.8% from the field this season. I remember a point when he was shooting that, but I thought that like over the past 15 games he's been shooting like above 40% enough to, and on a significant sample size of numbers. I'm gonna pull up Stats Muse so I can get a very specific thing. Hang on, guys. Keontae George. All right, so we're gonna. Dang, am I? Did the numbers just look good in my head then? I'm gonna go last. How long has he been starting for? He has how many starts? He has 31 starts, which means he started 16 games early on in the season. That means he's started the last 15 games, I'm thinking. Last 15 games. Yeah, that's not good. It's a little bit more not good than I thought it was. Let me look up. I'm trying to cherry pick something real quick. They say men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I'm trying to find some numbers to support this defensive argument I'm about to give him. Okay, so I pulled up on StatsMuse his most recent 15 games, all of which being starts, obviously. Now one of those games was against I believe it was Washington Wizards, where he started the game, played 6 minutes, and then just like disappeared. Now he's allowed to have bad games. He is a rookie. We don't expect him to be perfect. We don't expect him to be anything close to perfect. But I do have a couple question marks for him here and there, of course. Before I get to that though, let me read these Y'all stuff in the chat. At this point, the Jazz are about to start pointing fingers at the players. At the players, JC, THT, Luca. I think Luca's just gonna sit on the bench because he's never enough of a positive or a negative in any game to say anything substantial. His contract expires at the end of this year. They're not gonna re-sign him. They have no reason to. Um, JC is going to be the easiest scapegoat because he is the oldest player and he's statistically, from a shooting standpoint, having the worst season of his career. Badly. So he's probably on a trade block. Now, do I guarantee he's going to get traded? Not really. But would it make sense? Yeah. He said, I've returned from break. Woo. Also, Key's going to be fine, in my opinion. I'm glad to see you're back, Epic. I know you enjoyed those games you went to, even though we lost. I think Abaji will go down as a dumb trade. I feel like we gave up too many assets. Kelly Olynyk, to me, he's still going to be serviceable for another 3 years at least. Ochai, I think they're going to find a way to make him last. So I felt like, dang, we got a late first round pick, which is basically going to be a beginning of the second round pick at that point. And we give 2 guys. We gave up a young guy that still had potential, and we just decided, you know what, he's cooked. Fair play, but if he ends up being good in Toronto, like I think he will potentially be over the next 2-ish seasons, then we're gonna start asking questions. Now, if he's not, particularly good, then they can say they told you so, and then Abaji will be out of the league in 3 seasons once his rookie contract is up. We said. Dudes are saying Eugene over Abaji, LOL, defense underrated. Yeah, for sure. No, Pennick, I just feel his huge flaws at point guard. He's so lining force fed at the expense of others. It doesn't have to be about limiting guys who can grow, especially at a position like point guard. Fair. Is shooting a point guard blank? He needs to get stronger. He's a poor man's Bradley Beal. Seriously, that's an interesting comparison that I actually can't argue too much with because they do have similar play styles, especially the 3-point heavy, skill set. He's been very good in Toronto. He just needs to be in a good setting. Yeah, defensively, he's been fitting in with Toronto's scheme, but he hasn't been able to play consistent offensive minutes because his shooting is just horrid. And it's only on like 4 or 5 attempts a game, too. I will say that with the Ochai deal, Utah might select Kevin Collier with the pick. Bless you. Thank you. Welcome. Kevin Collier. Where'd it go? With that pick, and he might end up being better than Ochai. I could see that. Chris Dunn messed up his money a bit this offseason by deciding to be passive offensively last season. He was shooting more, but he didn't seem to even look at the rim in some possessions. This is what I say about Chris Dunn, though. Chris Dunn did exactly what they told him to do. Like when you think of a savvy veteran whose job was to table set on offense, to get Lauri Markkanen the ball, because during that stretch of games where they were really winning, the backcourt we had was Collin Sexton, Chris Dunn. Your issue with Collin Sexton is he's always going to be a slight negative on defense, no matter how hard he tries, because he's just little. Okay, Chris Dunn alleviates that because he's 6'4", right? Great defensive instincts, communicates well, gets over screens, get under screens, understands the scouting report, very cerebral player, right? They play well off of each other. He doesn't take away shots from Lauri Markkanen. He understands that Lauri Markkanen is the main engine of this offense. He understands that Collin Sexton is the second engine of the offense. So he sets up both of those guys and gave them the opportunity to cook. You also remember had Fontecchio. Fontecchio didn't really often create for himself. He was capable of it, but the system was not predicated on him creating for himself. So the person that got on the ball more often than not ended up being, you guessed it, Chris Dunn. Walker Kessler, similar thing. John Collins, similar thing. So he had a very specific niche down role. I think that he's going to get paid decently, right? It might be 5 to 7 million a year. He's not going to get paid any crazy money, but I think that with the way he played, Chris Dunn did good enough to allow himself to be afforded a contract that will keep him in the league at the NBA level without getting, sent to the G League, without him getting, getting sent away. which is really big because coming from a guy that was dealing with so many injuries and just had so much adversity early on in his career, we never really got to see what prime Chris Dunn would have ever looked like. And it's not like it's not like a Derrick Rose thing where, oh, we saw how great Derrick Rose was, and now, he got hurt because of injuries. No, we never saw what the greatest version of Chris Dunn ever would have looked like. We just see Chris Dunn, the serviceman. Um, so I think this was his way of properly securing the bag in his best case scenario. We said I haven't been huge on Key, but my devil's advocate debate. Name a point guard, even a star point guard who plays significantly better than how Key is playing right now when they were 20. He's having a much better season than Scoot. Don't overreact, guys. Yeah, Scoot. I'm not gonna lie. Scoot's the level of bad that Scoot's season has actually been surprising to me because I did not see it coming at all. Just a bump in the road on the way to becoming a star. Yeah. Now, just real quick, I didn't want to take up too much of you guys' time, but I wanted to cherry pick some numbers because we've had Keontae George starting, and I wanted to actually give him credit because I know I cooked him the first time he started for those 16 games because he shouldn't have lasted that long. He wasn't ready. Here we are, 15 games in to the next Keontae George experiment, and in this time he is playing 31.6 minutes. In this time, guess what? 17.3 points. 3.1 rebounds, 5.1 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.2 blocks. He's averaging 3 turnovers, which is bad. That's north of Jordan Clarkson's. So that's definitely not good. But that was to be expected. We knew he was going to be slightly turnover prone, right? Because he's not a natural point guard. Even when he was in high school, it was a different story. When he was in college, though, he played a lot more at the 3. So this was not his role. We're changing him from just being a scorer to being we need you to properly run the role, run the offense, put everybody in their positions, lead everybody, and be a floor general. And he just hasn't gotten that far along yet. And it will take time. But I'm seeing enough from him to feel like it's not the end of the world yet. Now, 5.1 to, a 5 to 3 assist to turnover ratio is not good. It's not what we want, but it's the necessary evil at the moment. Now, overall across these games, he's averaging 6 for 14 from the field, which is 42.3%, which isn't good, right? It's beneath league average significantly, but he is shooting 2.8 for 7.2 from 3, which is 38.9%. So what we're seeing is he's taking almost as many threes as he's taking overall, like, 2-point attempts. And then in some cases, he's taking a couple more threes and he's taking 2-point attempts. So the thing that's really bringing down his percentage is the fact that of his 14.3 shot attempts, 7.2 of them are coming from 3-point range. And he's shooting really, really good from there. Usually. He has hot games, he has cold games. I just peeped on the thing. Because he'll have one game where he goes 5 of 7, then he'll have a game where he goes 1 of 5. But it all ultimately averages out to 38.9%, which is very, very good. No matter what type of player you are, it is very, very good. Unless you're like Stephen Curry. Then it's like, oh, that's Curry's down year. You know what I'm saying? We know he can shoot threes. We know he's better off of the dribble than off the catch. From the free throw line, he's 2.4 for 2.7, which is 87.8%. Overall, the only major knock is the fact that his box score plus minus is so egregiously bad. It's negative 115. It should be 113, which for each thing, 113 divided by 15 is 7.5. So even then, it's not that crazy. The team was expected to lose, and they're losing by an average of 7.5 points, or being outscored by an average of 7.5 points when he's on the court. Defensively, he has a lot to be desired, but ultimately, I think that he'll right the ship. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to be the ideal point guard that they're trying to make him to be. If he could pick up on Chris Dunn's defensive instincts and be a great, I would put him at number 2 and put Sexton at the 1. But I also understand that it might be about time to go ahead and switch out your 6 man, and maybe you feel like, yes, Collin Sexton's a great player, but maybe we can make somebody better than him. Do I agree with it? No. But I also understand that Danny Ainge has been prone to doing some very interesting things when he's in people's front offices. So I can't just act like it's not a possibility. We said I'm pretty confident that at minimum, Keontae is a Tyus George, Tyus Jones level guard. More realistic, I see Jamal Murray and better. Trey Bayless. I can see that. I would love him to be Jamal Murray. I just need to see a little bit more. I think this offseason will tell us really what he's going to do. I think about 20 games into next season, we're kind of going to know what kind of player he's going to be for about 3 more years after that. And then he might have the opportunity for one more gear, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, man. Didn't want to take up too much of y'all's time. Just wanted to pop in, chat about the game a bit, have a little fun, debate a little bit. He said, I think the league knows that, and they're going to do the research internally with Danny, Justin, and Hardy. When it comes to Chris Dunn free agency, I believe Miami's going to pick up Dunn. Hey, somebody with money is going to put that bread for him. I'm not going to lie. And I can't even be mad at Dunn if he does decide to take it because he earned it. He worked hard this year. He was healthy. He was always available. He never complained. He pushed the rookies. When he started out at the beginning of the season, not playing like all of 12 minutes a night, and you had Keontae and you had THT starting over him for a significant period of time, he didn't complain. He sat on the bench. He was right there, cheering everybody on, helping guys in practice, being a leader. He just did what he did. You said him and Jimmy Butler have the same agent? That's going to be interesting to keep in mind. That's an interesting one. Okay. But yeah, man, just wanted to touch base with y'all, see how y'all was doing, all that good stuff. With any luck, he said. Also, low key, it's going to be annoying if Dunn goes to a big market, plays the exact same as not, and suddenly everyone's calling him underrated impact piece. Oh, you know what's going to happen though, Epic. If he does end up getting traded, he's going to be the same guy, and because he's in a bigger market, people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, look at him! He's so great! Isn't he the greatest? Look at how elite his defense is." They're going to be acting like he's Drew Holiday, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, you didn't care when he was in Utah because he was in Utah." And it's like, all right. Listen, a good player is a good player. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're playing basketball on the moon. If you can hit a three, you can hit a three. If you can lock up, you can lock up, regardless. But yeah, you're right. You're right, though, Epic. 100%. Well, yeah, I appreciate you all boys tuning in. I know the lives haven't been popping like they used to back in the day, but we still be out here vibing, still be out here chatting it up and things of that nature. And hopefully we'll just continue to grow the channel bit by bit. With that being said, though, I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and become a member to help support the channel. And without further ado, if all hearts and minds are clear, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace. You're going to say he's the next Patrick Beverley? Even better than Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley can't hold a candle. He could probably hold a candle to Chris Dunn, but he can't do what Chris Dunn can do. The man done different. The man's done different. Appreciate y'all, boys. I'll see you, Jackson. I'll see you, Melvin. I'll see you, Epic. I'll see you, James. Who else was in here? I'll see you, Pete. I'll see you, Incognito. I'll see you, David. # free Sexton. All right. I'll see y'all, boys.